Well, everybody, I'm Cantonese Cat. Everybody, Cantonese Cat here. I'm going to do a video. I'm going to go for as quick as I can. Talk about Tesla, talk about Nvidia, and then compare the two. This is the monthly chart of Tesla. What you're going to see here, and I've been talking about this over and over again. It looks like we just broken a diagonal line, pushed through over here, and we backtest here after 2 years of a backtest, right? Here we did the same thing with the exception that this whole backtest, this whole push through of the bearish diagonal trend line here and backtest only take about 6 months, and we bounced off of it very, very hardly. And if you're also looking at for any potential symmetry, I can show you. I'm going to keep showing this over and over again because it still works, so there's no reason not to. Got close to the cloud here, bounced through, touch the bottom of the cloud here again, right? Push through. Got close to the cloud here, bounced off of it, going back out here at confluence of the backtest of the diagonal over here, and the bottom of the cloud over here at both of these regions, right? All of these are basically telling me that this is a pretty decent setup here with a higher high and higher low, with a trend that is forming a little bit of a channel over here, higher highs and higher lows. It looks like it wants to continue upwards, right? It just looks pretty decent to me in terms of the setup over here. Now, if I take away all of this other stuff here, take away the cloud, if I look at the Bollinger Band, you also see a couple of things here too. One is that the 20-month moving average here is holding a support where the trees are bottom, which is why you have a very, very impulsive reaction back to the upside, right? It wants to gravitate back up to the upper Bollinger Band here. We're having a little bit of a harder time break above the upper Bollinger Band, but I'll show you why here in a little bit second. But to reclaim the 20-month moving average is actually a very, very promising thing. It almost feels like this is like a back test of the 20-month moving average, kind of like how COVID, the wick down here for COVID, was kind of close to a back test of the 20 moving average, right? I see a little bit of correlate between here and there. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that this whole huge volatility over here has ended up with having the monthly Bollinger Band expand to the upside and the downside. You have a Bollinger Band expansion, allowing price to go up higher over time, right? You see how the upper Bollinger Band here is ticking up here a little bit too. The short term, we might have a little bit hard time breaking above some of the resistance level up here above. Where resistance level are you talking about here? Well, we're talking about the monthly Tenkan, right? The blue line over here, which is exactly where it kind of got rejected here so far. If you also look at a weekly, we did bounce off this cloud here beautifully, right? We did bounce off the cloud here beautifully, but we are hitting the kitchen resistance here on the weekly here as well. The promising thing is, I think we probably end up pushing through given time because we are also reclaiming the 20-week moving average. Do I love the gap down here? No, I don't, but we're reclaiming the 20-week moving average, right? So there are a lot of really positive signs here on the higher time frame, which I just showed you. Diagonal Bollinger Band with the 20-month moving average reclaim, as well as the Ichimoku cloud bottom bounce, and the trees are bottom. And the weekly, you also have a positive thing going, which is reclaiming the 20-week moving average. The negative stuff is, just the Ichimoku resistance here, both on weekly and monthly. And I think if that's the case, it certainly seems like that's the last bounce, doesn't it? That's the last bounce before it gravitates back up to the upper Bollinger Band here around $400. Once it gets back up to $400, we'll see how it reacts, right? But it looks like it wants to go higher from here. This is what I think about Tesla. Now, if you want targets, I can give you targets, but none of that matters because targets are just a general way to kind of give you an idea in terms of how high things can go. But at this point, I don't really anticipate Tesla having to meet any particular target. I just never say, oh, when it's this price, I'll sell it. That doesn't work that way usually. I gotta say too, it's getting close to 0.86, which is confluent with a lot of these resistance levels up here above. But once it breaks about this zone around like 350, 340, 350 or so, it can go up to 400 here in a hurry. And when it gets up to 400, depending on how it reacts there, it could continue to have further bullish continuation, which is the scenario that I favor. I think that once it pushes through the 0.86, I think that these levels should be hit, no problem. The question is whether or not some of these higher levels will also be hit. I generally think that with something this volatile and something that just keeps on going up like 200-300% and go down like 50%, with something this extremely volatile, this volatility is actually going to allow price to go up a lot higher. It's possible to hit the 2.272 this cycle. I think. But it doesn't matter what I think. It's going to have to do what it wants to do, right? So what do? We keep monitoring the Bollinger Band expansion, and we see how things go given time, right? We see whether or not we get the very impulse move on the way up here that allows a full Bollinger Band expansion. If we get this impulsive move up like that to open up the Bollinger Band, really open up the Bollinger Band, then we are talking. Then we're talking about continue to monitor the lower Bollinger Band to see how when the lower Bollinger Band actually starts to kind of curl up, right? The two previous cycle, whenever the Bollinger Band starts to kind of curl up here, that was not the top, and that was also not the top. The top happened about 6 to 8 months later. So we are going to keep on closely monitoring in terms of what Tesla's going to do, and then see what happens. But this seems like it's a early bull cycle behavior. That's what it seems like to me. Nvidia is becoming more bullish. There is no doubt about that. I mean, like, you don't need me to tell you. It's got a morning star pattern here, down candle, doji, up candle. It's going back up here to the upper Bollinger Band. That's what I think, which is going to currently, a Bollinger Band is around 163.78. It's dynamic, it's going to change. But I think it wants to graduate up here eventually, right? How it reacts up there, I don't know. But the bounce off of the 20-month moving average, a rising 20-month moving average here means something, because the last two bull cycle ended with a bear market that pushes underneath the 20-month moving average, right? Here, it looks like you kind of bounce here, but the next one's just immediately just end up continue to plummet downwards, right? Here, we closed underneath the 20-month moving average, and we have another leg down, right? That's the rest is history. Here, we reclaim the 20-month moving average. This is very, very different behavior. This behavior here, pushing Bollinger Band back test to 20, looks kind of like this, you know? I'm not saying that it's just going to keep mooning from here. It depends on how it reacts. I generally don't like the fact that Bollinger Band is closing. That tells me that the parabolic bull trend here is reversing trend. But if we have a few more impulsive candles, let's say it just keeps on pushing here, it could potentially reopen the Bollinger Band and renew a bull cycle, right? Which actually, because of this strong bounce over here, is my primary case right now. It also back tested the monthly kitchen here almost perfectly, right? This is also a different behavior compared to the last two cycles. Last cycle, we closed underneath the kitchen, kind of like how we closed underneath the 20-month moving average. We closed underneath the kitchen, and the rest is history, like another leg down, right? The cycle before that, we bounced off the kitchen here, but we end up closing the month below kitchen and another leg down lower after that, right? Same thing, we lost the 20-month moving average here, and another leg after that. Here, we are holding. We got some pretty strong reaction here, and we bounced off of it, and we reclaimed the Tenkan, right? This is a sign for a renewed bull market, if you will. I am no longer bearish on Nvidia. I initially was a little bit more bearish here around January, February, March. I really start to be a little bit more worried about Nvidia because of this kind of rounded top type thing. And I ended up, really around like February or March, I really ended up rotating to Tesla. I still have some exposure to Nvidia, but it's not nearly as much as I was before. But Nvidia is showing a comeback here. It looks extremely, extremely beautiful. So the final question here is this, right? I'm going to try to keep this video as short as I can. The final question is this. If I have money right now, should I put it in Nvidia or should I put it in Tesla? Nobody's ever really going to be able to give you a definitive answer here, but I'm going to try my best to tell you why I prefer to allocate away from Nvidia and going into Tesla. The biggest reason is, number one, on the monthly spread chart of Nvidia over Tesla, if this is bullish, that means Nvidia is outperforming. If this is bearish, that means that Tesla is outperforming, right? Looks like the Nvidia over Tesla chart has peaked in June of 2024, right? And after that, this spread ratio, kind of like time before that, before this significant outperformance of Tesla over Nvidia from 2019 to 2021 over here, before that, it basically broke down underneath these Tenkan Kijun here and it had a bearish backtest here. Once it could no longer break above of it, get rejected very clearly here, that's when you have a big giant plummet, right? Here, what's happening? Well, you broke underneath the Tenkan Kijun and you had a bearish backtest here. Very similar over here to here, right? It does look like it wants to go down here. It does look like it's showing some weakness. Now, there's another way to show you too, which is looking at Bollinger Band. Look at the 20-month moving average. As soon as you break underneath the 20-month moving average, this is a downtrend, right? We did end up breaking down underneath the 20 here, and so far it's serving as a little bit of resistance here. So unless if it reclaims that and go up higher, it does look like the trend is now favoring Tesla over Nvidia. Although I don't want you to feel that I'm being bearish on Nvidia. I'm not. I'm just saying that the chart is basically telling me that, and I can look at a lower time frame here too, right? The chart is basically telling me that there is a potential where Nvidia could underperform Tesla moving forward, or vice versa. There's a potential for Tesla to outperform Nvidia moving forward, right? Bearish, you see, breakdown of the weekly Chimoku cloud, bearish backtest got rejected here, right? So this favors Nvidia not doing as well as Tesla, which is basically very similar. You know, you basically have like, you know, broke above the cloud here a little bit, broke down, bearish backtest, down we go. Again, I don't think this is necessarily what's going to happen, but it just seemed that currently Nvidia does not really have that big of an edge over a stock like Tesla. The reason why that is, and you can come with all kinds of fundamental arguments to reason as to why that is. The truth is this: a lot of people have made a lot of money from Nvidia, and psychologically speaking, once it gets to the 2.272 log fib, there's going to be a lot of people taking profits and going to have a hard time really pushing up a stock, no matter how good the fundamentals are, right? With that said, it's actually quite amazing that it is turning bullish. After a hard rejection here at the 2.272, there's a chance for it to flip bullish again. This is absolutely amazing. I'm not going to bet against Nvidia, but I'm going to bet for Tesla. Anyway, thank you so much for listening to this video. I hope you guys have a wonderful evening, and take care, guys. I'm going to end the video saying this. I look at Tesla and I look at Nvidia every single weekend. In addition to just looking at my chart, I also do a collaborative project here with Danny, where I also collaborate with his charts as well to come up with a more cohesive thoughts. Two heads better than one. And if you enjoy these videos that I make, if you want to find out more about my weekend videos with Danny, feel free to join his Patreon or not. Completely up to you, all right? But I'm doing a little bit more of a consistent video sets here for my friend Danny to try to help him provide more value for his Patreon. Anyway, choice is up to you. Take care, guys. Have a good one. Bye.